Today, we'll begin by discussing some limestone landscapes. As you probably know, limestone is rock that is formed when sea creatures die and fall to the ocean floor. Over time, layers of skeletons build up and the bottom layers are pressed down. Eventually, the pressure turns the bones into limestone. Limestone is a relatively hard rock, but water can erode it or wash it away. Erosion leads to holes and cracks or small breaks in the rock. If this continues for thousands or even millions of years, some very dramatic landscapes can form. Let me show you a photo of one such landscape. Can anyone tell me what kind of landscape we're looking at here? No? Okay, well, this is a photo of a karst landscape. That's K-A-R-S-T, karst. Karst landscapes form in areas where limestone is exposed to the weather. You can recognize a karst landscape because it usually has caves and bridges made of rock. There are also underground streams and sinkholes, which are large holes in the ground. For those of you who like statistics, about 8% of the Earth's land surface is karst landscape. What I want to focus on in this lecture is a particularly dramatic example of a karst landscape. Here's a photo of Tsingy de Bimara, located near the western coast of the island of Madagascar. The word Tsingy can be translated in English as something like place where one cannot walk without shoes, and I think you can see why that's an appropriate name. The limestone peaks can be very sharp. In fact, some people call this area the Forest of Knives. It's really dramatic, isn't it? I'm going to talk about three aspects of this park: how it was formed, how the landscape affects tourism, and what's special about it. Let me start by explaining in a little more detail how this unique landscape formed. In Tsingy, this process started 200 million years ago, when layers of limestone were formed underwater. As you probably know, the surface of the Earth is always moving. As a result, the limestone layer rose until it was above the surface of the water. Rainwater started to cause erosion, and small holes and cracks were formed in the rock. As more rain fell, water flowed into these holes and cracks and made them larger and larger until they formed small caves. As more water flowed into the caves, there was more erosion, and the caves became larger and larger. As the process continued, the tops of some of the caves collapsed. At this point, the landscape was a series of tall rock towers and deep canyons. Eventually, sharp knife-like points formed. The tallest rock towers are about 320 feet tall. Airline pilots who have flown over Tsingy de Bimara report that the landscape reminds them of the skyscrapers of New York, just a natural version of them. Keep in mind that this all happened over a period of many millions of years. Let's move on to how this landscape affects tourism. What do you think it would be like to visit there? Difficult? You're right. Some tourists do visit the Tsingy de Bimara National Park, and they see not only caves, but also waterfalls and natural swimming pools. It's a challenge to get there, and there are several possible risks. For example, you need to cross rope bridges. In the rainy season, there might be floods, and there is a risk that a cave may collapse and cause injuries. Finally, as I mentioned, limestone is sharp, and if you step or fall onto a sharp piece of rock, you could hurt yourself quite badly. As you can guess, human activity in the region is fairly light. But there's one thing apart from the landscape itself that makes Tsingy de Bimara a special place. This brings me to the last point I want to talk about. The region is home to some incredibly rare species of plants and animals. In fact, 85% of the plants and animals in Tsingy de Bimara are found nowhere else on Earth. This includes 39 birds that are only found there. It's great if you enjoy watching birds. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue talking about this amazing park.